Gabriel José de la Concordia Garcia Márquez, American Spanish, was born in March 1927. 17th April 2014 was a Colombian novelist, short story writer, screenwriter, and journalist, known affectionately as Gabo Abeda, or Gabito Abeda Ito throughout Latin America. Considered one of the most significant authors of the 20th century, particularly in the Spanish language, he was awarded the 1972 Neustadt International Prize for Literature and the 1982 Nobel Prize in Literature. He pursued a self-directed education that resulted in leaving law school for a career in journalism. From early on, he showed no inhibitions in his criticism of Colombian and foreign politics. In 1958, he married Mercedes Barcha. They had 2 sons, Rodrigo and Gonzalo. While there are certain aspects readers can almost always expect in Garcia Márquez's writing, like instances of humor, he did not stick to any clear and predetermined style template. In an interview with Marlise Simons, Garcia Márquez noted, "In every book one tried to make a different path. One doesn't choose the style. You can investigate and try to discover what the best style would be for a theme. But the style is determined by the subject, by the mood of the times. If you try to use something that is not suitable, it just won't work. Then the critics build theories around that, and they see things I hadn't seen. I only respond to our way of life, the life of the Caribbean." Garcia Márquez was also noted for leaving out seemingly important details and events, so the reader is forced into a more participatory role in the story development. For example, in No. 1 writes to the Colonel, the main characters are not given names. This practice is influenced by Greek tragedies, such as Antigone and Oedipus Rex, in which important events occur off-stage, and are left to the audience's imagination. The way you treat reality in your books has been called magical realism. I have the feeling your European readers are usually aware of the magic of your stories, but fail to see the reality behind it. This is surely because their rationalism prevents them seeing that reality isn't limited to the price of tomatoes and eggs. Garcia Márquez received the Nobel Prize in Literature on 8 December 1982 for his novels and short stories, in which the fantastic and the realistic are combined in a richly composed world of imagination, reflecting a continent's life and conflicts. His acceptance speech was entitled The Solitude of Latin America. Garcia Márquez was the first Colombian and 4th Latin American to win a Nobel Prize for Literature. After becoming a Nobel laureate, Garcia Márquez stated to a correspondent, "I have the impression that in giving me the prize, they have taken into account the literature of the subcontinent, and have awarded me as a way of awarding all of this literature." Reality is an important theme in all of Garcia Márquez's works. He said of his early works, with the exception of Leaf Storm, Nobody Writes to the Colonel, An Evil Hour, and Big Mama's Funeral all reflect the reality of life in Colombia, and this theme determines the rational structure of the books. I don't regret having written them, but they belong to a kind of premeditated literature that offers too static and exclusive a vision of reality. In his other works he experimented more with less traditional approaches to reality, so that the most frightful, the most unusual things are told with the deadpan expression. A commonly cited example is the physical and spiritual ascending into heaven of a character while she is hanging the laundry out to dry in 100 years of solitude. The style of these works fits in the marvelous realm described by the Cuban writer Alejo Carpentier, and was labeled as magical realism. Literary critic Michael Bell proposes an alternative understanding for Garcia Márquez's style, as the category magic realism is criticized for being dichotomizing and exoticizing. What is really at stake is a psychological soulness, which is able to inhabit unsentimentally the daytime world while remaining open to the promptings of those domains which modern culture has, by its own inner logic, necessarily marginalized or repressed. Garcia Márquez and his friend Plinio Apuleyo Mendoza discuss his work in a similar way.